Hello everyone, welcome back again to Pete's Model Car Customs. Hope you're all well, hope you've all had a Thanksgiving, those who celebrate that. And those who've got snow, I hope you're enjoying that. We've had a world-changing 1/4 inch of snow, which is going to soon bring the country to a standstill. But apart from that, it's just freezing cold. One thing I noticed the other day was a bill for not painting things. I don't really understand that. I mean, why not just build something more in depth and so as you're brush painting a lot of it, you know, a totally different kit, not a car kit. Do something completely different, a figure or a military vehicle. Or prepare several kits for spraying when the weather does improve. But anyway, that's not really what I'm here for tonight. It's as I'm sort of relatively new to car modelling, I find a lot of things different and interesting. So today is a kit I bought the other day. It's an old one, an open box, and it's slightly second hand. It's this. As it say, a Ford Falcon modified stocker. This is a very, very basic kit. Like I said, it's second hand, and has been attacked already by some primer. Whoever had it before me has squirted a load of what looks like a very unshaken can of paint. That's left runs and hardly any covering on it, but that's immaterial. To me it's an investigation into something completely different. And when you look in the instructions, it's got some quite basic setup. Really juicy fat wheels, and that's the interior. So full roll cage, the engine, and very little else. And a lot of it is all cast in, as you can see from this inner body shell bit, the floor pan. Most of it, that's about it for the interior, you know. And it's sort of moulded funny here. I don't know what the original kit was. It's definitely converted from something. I can tell that just by the way it's been made, and you know, all the rear axles moulded in, and this is so soft I would presume there was meant to be an inner floor pan over it, or this was a representation of carpet. But because it was so simple and second hand, there's a lot of parts off the sprue, and just gives me time to have a look at something completely different and see what I'm going to do with it. So initially, like I said, with the floor being as basic as it was, I wanted to change that a bit. So I've been doing some body work on that to get a different shape, or more shape to it, and added these strips around here and a new boxed in body part back there out of various strips and sheet and that. And also on the underside I've taken out the moulded in axle, which I'll replace with one that I've got from my spares bin. There was also a moulded in prop shaft, and there wasn't an exhaust, but there's a moulded in prop shaft and axle and these leaf springs. So I've got from my spares box another rear axle and prop, which I'll use to locate in there. But as this wasn't a fully covered prop, I've built up diff. I've built up the back of that as well, so as that will be fuller. Yeah, it's going in and out of focus on that back box, isn't it? And I thought something like that would just give it a clearish image. Anyway, that will pop into there. But also with all this, I'll probably end up carving that out and using the leaf springs from this axle, which are about the same length as what was originally there. I'll be able to change the leaf springs as well and build in the box panel at the back of there more properly. So I've got about, well, I've got loads of length of leaf spring there to cover that whole distance and get me back to the prop. The parts that are with the kit are this is a roll cage part. I think I'll move that round a bit just to stop it from focusing, but there's a lot of flash. I don't know if you can see that seam line down there, you know, throughout, so these will all need cleaning up. And going back to the floor, there's only these two, can you see that circle there? That's the only location point for the whole of a full cage. So while I'm building this up, I'll work out where everything goes together, make a better location point there and there, find out where it's meant to go at the back, somewhere there, and put a locator there and build it all up properly and put in new location points on the other side to match the other half of the roll cage. While it was there, I've given the chrome sprue a quick black wash over to have a look at some of the parts. There's a nicely padded steering wheel, quite a nice little vent. What's that called? Velocity stack. Gear shifter, carburetor, a rather horribly moulded fire extinguisher, quite a nice alternator, fuel cap, and these nice brake drums. If I can grab one of the loose ones, is a nicely thinned brake drum parts. A couple have fallen off. There's quite nice thinning around there, so I thought, oh, that's cool. And then for some reason it does give you a smaller wheel and tyre, but then in the instructions says to delete the optional left front inner ring, do not use brake drum with optional wheel setup, which I thought was odd. And then you're carving in to make new tread patterns if you're going to use that as a dirt track, is that right? This is such a soft polythene, I think it would be very hard to score in anything like that. So I don't think I'll go with that plan at all and just scuff these up as asphalt ones. I've got them all tied together. That's the other wheel tyre, slightly deformed, but it's a nice tread pattern on it and a nice cross hatch. But it'd be back to using my saw technique to engrave a texture on there. I might give it a go on a small area and see what happens, because it can always be the part that's sitting on the ground if it looks like poo. There's also, grabbing the engine block, quite a bit of work needed to be done to this, but it only took me a day to mess around with the whole model. I glued these two halves together and then started lining up all the heads, which needed quite a bit of packing out in a variety of places. I can't get this to stay focused on anything. To get the manifold and the heads all squared up. I think this is meant to be some sort of distributor, but it's about the most poorly moulded one I've ever seen. But there's yet to be, I suppose, more poor ones. And I don't think in a car like this you'd have a starter motor. I think they'd probably bump start them push start. So that means I can carve that out of there, blank the starter motor off, delete the battery. There's quite a nice moulded battery in there as well. So that'll give me a battery for the spares box. The seat also needed quite a bit of work, if that will just come in, to get that blanking side pad mounted on. It's got a sort of screw rivet texture down the side, so I don't know what these would have been made out of, possibly wood. You know, I don't know whether people made these things at home or whether this is a seat conversion you could buy from some speed shop or whatever. But it had a horrible... There's so much curve and mismoulding to this that it took quite a bit of time to get that levelled up for that part to sit in reasonably well. It's got quite nice moulded in lap belt, which I'm going to pick out. It's got quite a lot of dimension to it for a moulded one, much better than those crossroads. See that there? Bit of shading and quite a lot of definition in that. That's about the nicest moulding I've found on it. That's quite interesting. The wheels themselves look really quite nice. Very deep dish to make with these tyres, but quite nice lug nut detail and stuff. I quite like those. They're nice. The tyres say just Goodyear on them. There's no sizing or type, you know. Just a Goodyear logo, which might pick out, might not be worth worrying about. And then this sort of, it's described as a tonneau cover. Now whether you, it seems strange to me, because going on back to the instructions, in that area, they're also mounting this moon tank into the back there, and the battery. And an upper rear axle part, which is odd because the rest of it, if you're going to put this tonneau cover over the top with a fuel cap through it, this must be some, although it's described as a rear tonneau cover, it must have been plate of some sort, so I'll deal with that into some sort of something, use that and stash the moon tank. It's quite a nice moon tank. But put that in as filler access. Quite a nice gear shifter. I'm grabbing bits out of the box really. I've put in a black wash into the front grille to have a look at what that looks like, which is quite nice. It's quite nicely made with the headlamp covers there. I don't know what this kit originally was. It was definitely, I'm sure it's a conversion of something. And at the back there's a nice sort of honeycomb effect. You can probably hear that more than see it. Will it show up at all? Let's bring it right up. And I'm going to assume that that was an aluminium panel. A trim panel, and then there's tail light covers over there and there, so I'll paint that whole lot in various aluminium model toy, or another monstrous toy. But I don't know what it was originally. It's got screw fittings there and looks like they've had them removed on the inside. There's hardly any ejector marks on the inside of this. It's quite nice. Nothing in the roof. And that's all totally smooth. Just two big lugs there and these two there. So if I just pop that back out. Hood pins on there, which could do with a bit of detailing. And the remnants of the two pillars, which I'll grind out if I don't cut that. Well, I'll grind them down to get rid of them. The same with the water bottle there. I'm going to grind that out even though it's dished in there. My dog has just broken wind, and it's worse than mine. It's horrendous. She's horror for doing that. Poor dog. So I'll get rid of that part. I don't know whether I'll open this grill up. I've just got it taped in there for a moment. I really think I might separate the two and keep the bumper chromed, but dip this lot, and then, you know, clear out the back of that inner grill pattern and improve the radiator, as that has got no detail on it whatsoever, but does suggest putting in a reinforcement bar to go into that area, which is going to be a little bit, well, naff. If the rest of the area in there looks shit, looks sad anyway, bad, sad, or worse words. But it's quite an interesting little kit, very few parts. I'd love to know what the original model looked like. But it's quite a different model. On the sprue, there's a different inlet manifold and a blower belt, and these wicked fat headers, which I quite like the look of these. Originally, I've got an Ertl tag there, and it's and an old code number. Don't know what it was. Another wonky fan, so I'll trim that down and move that fan blade around a few degrees. I'm sure they do these. I've never seen one in reality, a fan with an offset fan blade, because it would alter the balancing of the fans. I mean, I'll trim that out and trim it off and shunt it back round a few degrees so as it's all in a proper 5-blade pattern. But I don't know what it had as a blower for. You know, so some time in its past it had different options for having a blower as well. But apart from all the oddities, there's another part here which is a back panel for the, get that right, Peter? Yeah, it is. It's the back panel of the roll cage with a sort of headrest pad, which is quite horrendous and seems just, I don't know. So I'll carve that out so as I'm back down to the tubes, and then add another backrest as a separate bolted on part to the frame. You know, if you can see there, it's a full cylinder, and it just seems weird. There's quite a nice little roof scoop. They're saying that's the driver's vent, only goes in a little way, so I might put a bit of mesh into there to improve that. Then it's got these two huge turnouts, which will just, you know, will probably get replaced by pieces of drinking straw. That dog really is starting to have a go. And there is just an abundance of flash on most of these parts, which will take a little bit of cleaning up. Front bumper addition brace, and that's got quite a prominent seam. We'll clean all these pieces up and have a bit of fun with this. It's quite a nice, interesting little model. Gosh, I'm really up to 20 minutes. I've enjoyed doing that. But yeah, so that's another project that will start soon. Well, it's started already, as I've dived into it while I was waiting for something else to dry, and then just having a rummage through the odd parts. So with that, and best wishes from jolly old England, I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your evenings. Bye.